You're listening to a podcast from thespoilist.com. Cyberspace, the new frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast First Contact. Its mission? To explore every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. To seek out new viewers and have new conversations. To boldly view what many have viewed before. Welcome to First Contact, the Next Generation intro casts. Yeah, we're keeping going. It's the second episode of Season 2. Everyone said Season 2 got better. I'm Andrew.
I'm James.
And I'm Alex.
This week we're watching Where Silence Has Lease. It first aired the week of November 28th, 1988. It was written by Jack B. Swords and directed by Winrick Colby. James, did anything happen in this episode?
Nope, this episode was a gigantic void. The Enterprise decides to investigate a big hole in space when it gets sucked into a void where the laws of normal space no longer apply. It turns out this is a bottle show, so everybody just wanders about the ship and says things before a big floaty head shows up to reveal it's studying humanity before it tragically kills Ensign Redshirt, who just happened to be sitting in the wrong chair while Wesley went for a piss. In order to stop the experiments, Picard decides to initiate the self-destruct, and the alien sets the ship free because it was time for the episode to end.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what to say. Alex, what did you think of this one?
Well, I mean, if you told me in advance that the ship is held in a void in space, and then they're contacted by a giant face in the void, I'd have said that sounds terrible. And it was, so it didn't disappoint. I mean, Jesus, a bottle show. It had me wanting to hit the bottle.
That's some weak-ass punnery there.
It is. But the episode was that bad, I can't be bothered to come up with a better pun. That's how bad it was.
We have this big set piece at the start. I think it might be a redress of the Planet Hell set. Certainly, it's much better lit and it's much better done. It looks quite good for a set. Worf and Riker on a dangerous mission. Picard is pacing up on the bridge. Counselor Troy says, "You're worried," with her amazing perception skills. Amazing. And then it turns out it was all in the holodeck. All this peril, and it was all in the holodeck. Why are you wasting my time?
Can anyone explain to me what the point of that scene was? Because when it started, I assumed, this will be informing the episode. Worf goes too far. But what it actually seemed to be foreshadowing was one scene halfway through the episode where Worf gets angry at a door.
I don't know. It does seem that they are trying to create some kind of rapport or some kind of double act between Riker and Worf. They're very deliberately placed together. There's the exercise, and then they go on the away mission together. Is there supposed to be some foreshadowing of some event? Is there supposed to be some kind of relationship forming? Because I don't get a sense of any of that. I don't see what the point in that scene was. I'm quite happy for an episode to have a teaser that doesn't relate to the rest of the show. But it does seem like it's supposed to be doing something in terms of character that never gets paid off.
Yeah, the double act's not working, boys. I'd move to the song and dance number. It leads nowhere. Surely the point of the pre-title sequence is to sort of either to set up where the plot's going or to foreshadow something that will come later. I don't understand what the point of any of that was. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was better directed than a lot of the fight scenes in the first series. much better. But it was entirely inconsequential.
And what it does is make the entire crew seem incredibly incompetent in having a guy who can't control his emotions in this way as the guy who's in charge of security. He nearly killed the first officer just because he was having a bit of a fight. And he said his fights are usually more intense than that.
Yeah, so basically we have someone who can't control himself and goes with an axe at the first officer. It makes Worf look much worse than he ever has in the show up to now. Have Klingons gone feral before? I don't really remember that. A warrior race, brave and in some ways elegant, but no, here he's just a mad dog.
Yes, we have one officer who can't control his urges, and then we've also got...
No, I'm not even going to let you finish that, because I thought that's what Andrew was doing, and I was relieved.
Just one thing though, if I'm remembering right, isn't Klingon sex sort of quite similar to this?
Yes.
Telling.
It has been a while for Worf.
He wants to insert something into Riker.
His axe.
So the Enterprise is off on some mission I don't even care about, and they decide to investigate this space hole. A big hole in space appears. Launch a probe. Probe disappears, gets sucked in. Launch another probe. Disappears, gets sucked in. Why don't we go closer then? Yeah, that seems like a good idea, everyone. Let's go closer to the hole that sucks things in. Don't make a Riker joke. Everyone's thinking it. Just move on.
If the last episode had some terrible writing decisions, this just has terrible decisions from the crew. Almost as if it were badly scripted as well.
We can praise the direction, because it does seem to be getting better. I think everything does look a lot smoother in this season from the evidence so far. The holodeck scene, I would say, quite ambitious, well choreographed. The special effects look absolutely fantastic. Once we get in to the void, the Dark Enterprise, beautifully lit model, yeah, again, we are talking about a bad script.
Can I just say, isn't it mightily convenient that the ship they ran into was their sister ship, thereby saving them an awful lot of money on the budget?
Oh, that's amazing. It's also incredible that Romulan prop that got built for the neutral zone comes back. Oh, we've got this, we've got to use this. It's just lying around. Probably didn't even have to shoot anything else. We'll just put that element onto this background.
And it's remarkably convenient as well that there was no debris, so, didn't have to explode that lovely model and they can reuse it.
I mean, you've got Pulaski here. She comes to the bridge and she says, "I'm not accustomed to working with non-living devices." What kind of doctor are you? You work with living devices, do you? If you're saying you're not used to working with non-living devices, what's a tricorder then? Get semantics right, you racist.
It's a change from the last Doctor because, of course, since her husband died, she became very acquainted with non-living devices. That's the first dildo joke of the series. The first dildo joke of the series, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe we should begrudgingly talk about Pulaski now. She is my absolute favourite character in all of Star Trek. When people ask me, you're absolute in every single Star Trek episode, who is your absolute favourite character? After I go past that little alien in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek film, I think of Pulaski.
She's been a convention favourite for a number of years, and of course became a regular in the Argyle Factor as well. I suppose this episode didn't make any effort, so let's talk about something else. A number of changes in the format for Season 2. We didn't really get into much depth because we were so busy talking about rape last week. So Pulaski, Dr. Crusher's gone. You get the sense that wasn't really a voluntary move on behalf of the actress. Wonder if she'll ever be back. And it makes no story sense given how tied she is to the captain and indeed to Wesley, who they've decided to keep on. But what they've tried to create is Dr. McCoy, but a woman, but without any of the charm. What do you think of Pulaski, Alex, so far? What they've done is they've set her up as an antagonist to Data, everyone's favourite character, so that'll go down well, yeah.
She just seems totally inconsequential, really, doesn't she? The only real trait of her so far is, as you say, that antagonism with Data. That seems to be it, which is remarkable. I mean, we said before in the last series that perhaps the cast was a little big, but it was better towards the end. And you can't help but think, my God, if this is the option, we'd be better off losing another person.
And the thing is, they're trying to replicate Bones and Spock's relationship with Pulaski and Data, but Data is nothing like Spock. Spock was arrogant and he felt above human emotion, whereas Data admires humanity and he's like a child learning about humanity. So Pulaski reacting to Data as Bones does to Spock makes Pulaski come across as a bully.
And of course the other missing factor from that is Kirk, who is in some ways the man's man. He's torn between his emotions and his logic, very much the epitome of the human condition. And you don't have that with Picard, so he doesn't have this angel and demon on his shoulder taking advice either way, because possibly he's actually closer to Spock than any other character. You've got this hard-thinking, considered character, so it doesn't make any sense to create that triumvirate again with a really major part missing.
All you have is Pulaski standing there being mean to Data. That's all she's done in the first 2 episodes. That's it. That's her character summed up, and in the next 20 episodes, it doesn't get better.
Well, we're missing one trait, of course. She was mean to Data, and she didn't turn up for a meeting on time and told Picard to sit down. That has been the extent of the development. Oh, and she was slightly concerned about the plague.
She was in the bar with Councillor Troy as well. She did that.
They brought in a character who was mean to the fans' favourite character. It's like if they, in the second season of Happy Days, if they brought in a character who just kept saying that, oh, this Fonz guy, what's he about? He's an idiot. Look at him. I mean, who does that? He's a dick.
I mean, as you say, they're trying to recreate something from the original series. We talked about this with the child, about time to move on, time to not be beholden to that original series or Phase 2 or anything like that. Time to just forge your own path. And this is another example of them not doing that. And it suffers for not doing that.
Forge! LaForge, Geordie LaForge, Geordie, he's been promoted to Chief Engineer. One of the main questions last season was, where did Argyle go? But also, why was there not a series regular Chief Engineer? And Geordie's been promoted. Very logical step, I would say. Seems to work for the character. We've seen him repairing stuff, working on the holodeck and stuff in Season 1. Yes, make him Chief Engineer. Good idea, we needed a Chief Engineer.
Well, and of course the other element is that it makes more use of the engineering set. And it's all too easy to have an episode that's set too much on the bridge, and so having engineering as a vital element by putting a major member of the cast down there, that's a great idea. Which makes it all the more remarkable that in this episode, they spend so much time on the bridge.
I suppose nothing really goes wrong in engineering, does it? They just don't move. But talking of the bridge, have you noticed some differences in the bridge as well? The chairs at the front have been raised. They're no longer recliners, so everyone sits up straight, which when you're on duty I think is much better. They've also added an engineering station at the back so Georgie can come up when he needs to, and they've got rid of that weird wooden panelling and replaced it with cushions, carpet. Everything else is covered in carpet. It just looks a bit better, and I think it's lit a lot better. It doesn't seem quite as harsh as it was before. Still very brightly lit, but I think everything does look a bit better.
I hadn't even noticed they'd changed it.
Well, there you go. Shall we get back to the episode? I think we've done enough filler. Oh wait, the episode's all filler as well.
Shall we get onto the space face?
The space face, yes. we talked a lot in the first season about giant floaty heads. Came up 2-3 times. We said then, well, that's very original series. It's a big omnipotent alien who just wants to learn about humanity. And thank goodness they've subverted that in this episode to doing something completely different. Oh no, wait. It's so old. It is so old and tired. Even in the next generation, we have been here before.
And yet, you know what? I'm not remarkably against having the idea of them discovering their lab rats. I don't think this was the way to go about it. It didn't really feel like they were being put through trials particularly. I mean, what did they have? They came across a couple of things that it turned out didn't exist. A member of their crew was killed, and then they were told that some others would be experimented on, and it would cut a percentage of the crew. It's just not that exciting, really.
Remember We'll Always Have Paris, I Know You Don't, where you had the weird time dilation and a fairly weak episode made better by some occasional cool visuals. It's quite cool seeing the Enterprise facing an identical ship. I quite like that. I think the stuff in the Void looks good. I don't actually mind the face, that kind of interesting visual as well. And the stuff on the Yamato, or not the Yamato. That's a nice name for a ship anyway. Going from one bridge into another bridge, that's another cool visual. I quite like that stuff there, but yeah, you're right. You don't get any sense of an actual test of humanity. Isn't that what Q is doing?
And I don't feel that they're coming out of that test well anyway. You have Picard saying, well, if some of us are going to die, we may as well all die. Oh, that's nice. I mean, it's not as if there's children on the ship or anything, you bastard.
And puppies.
That's alright, they've all gone in the incinerator by now.
Yeah, they got to warp 7, you need several puppies for that.
7. It's a puppy per warp. That's how warp works.
So the alien, Nagilum, he is named, he decides to investigate humanity. Hey, an alien did that last week, isn't that interesting? Yeah, what are the tests? What is humanity? What is he supposed to be learning about humanity in this one? He sees them fight, they blow up a ship, they don't come off that well in that, they see their own ship, they go and investigate, get angry and take it out on a door. What are we learning about humanity, or Klingonity, or Betazoidity? I don't know. What are they learning about people in the Federation?
I think there was a sort of very throwaway line that suggested it was a test to see how aggressive they were. And if that's the case, then frankly, Picard is failing that test quite extraordinarily.
They are quite aggressive, and then he decides to kill Ensign Redshirt. Wesley had been sitting in this chair all the way through the episode, up until this scene, when suddenly Haskell, I believe his name, he's not worthy of a name, is sitting there, and then gets murdered in Tasha Yar style.
Tasha Yar was murdered.
Spoilers.
No, that's happened. We've seen that episode. Tasha Yar was killed by an oil gimp.
Next you'll be telling me Geordie's blind. Yes, it's a new series of First Contact, but the jokes are the old favourites.
What was the point in that death? So perfunctory. Let's not even introduce this character just for him to die. That is so classic Star Trek. I mean, that was so Redshirt. It was almost knowing, but it wasn't knowing because I don't think they're that good at writing.
The only excuse for it is to ramp up the tension. That I couldn't be less tense.
And the thing is that they're almost happy at the end. They're almost like, you have the nice background music, and they're almost like, goodbye, Nagilum. Goodbye.
Nobody went to the holodeck for Ensign Haskell, did they? They didn't put him on home hill, and he didn't say nice things about any of them. None of that at all. No, just get over that.
Put him with the puppies. I think we should just dwell for a moment on Picard's decision to blow up the ship. And the remarkable discussion of what would be nicer for the crew. Should we kill them instantly, or should we give them 20 minutes to dwell on their deaths?
I love how arbitrary it is. Do we want to give them no time to think about it, or do we want to give them plenty of time to prepare? And then it's just like, I don't know, 20 minutes? Sounds a nice round number. In what way is that a nice round number? If you'd said 24 hours, that's a nice round number. 12 hours, is that a nice round number? How do we define a nice round number? Is it, oh, this is the first thing that entered my head, whatever, oh, God.
It's 10 minutes for the rumpy pumpy, 10 minutes for the pizza.
So yeah, it's not like they continue to engage with the situation. We are going to put self-destruct on. Picard just waltzes off to his quarters to listen to some light piano music and read a book.
I mean, essentially, it's a man has been threatened by somebody who says, I'm going to chop your arm off. And the man says, no, I'm going to chop both of my arms off. That's essentially what's happening here.
I mean, even if we go with the sense that Picard is playing a long game, and he always intends to cancel the countdown, he's still told the entire crew of the ship they are going to die. Now, again, as we've pointed out before, this includes children. So, what we're saying here is that the captain of the Enterprise has caused massive emotional stress to all of the civilians on board ship by telling them they're going to die, only at the last moment to go, ha! Joke! It's like he's an intergalactic Noel Edmonds. And they're not even getting a little gotcha statue at the end of it.
Riker's in charge of gunging the crew, though. In Picard's quarters, we have, I think, fake versions of both Troy and Data. I wasn't quite sure at first. This is not how you would be reacting. Actually, Data doing that Star Trek crap of saying, what is death? I thought that was how Data would be acting, to be perfectly honest. That seems like a sort of Data conversation you might have.
I also thought the whole discussion of better that some of us live than all of us die. Yeah, that seemed in character as well. As far as I could tell, the only thing that was really out of character was the fact that they called him Jean-Luc.
Would you not think that in this situation, somebody would be questioning Picard's decision? Because presumably, this all-powerful alien who has brought them into a different dimension and can create ships from nothing could shut off the self-destruct if he really wanted to, could just take the crew if it really wanted to, could do whatever experiment it liked. It can create projections, illusions, it could make them think they've escaped when they've not escaped. It does just seem they escape because the episode's ended. It seems, oh, we've got out into space, the episode's over. That's it. They've not done anything to prove anything other than the 45 minutes are almost up.
I almost wondered as it was going through whether that was meant to be a plot point, because there were various times when they had a means of escaping, but they stayed either to explore the other ship or to fight the Romulan warbird or whatever. And then I started to think about it and thought, is that what they're getting at here? That they're staying to fight, and that this is a test of aggression. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, that makes sense. But equally, the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that that's not what the writer was thinking at all, and it just happens to be a coincidence.
I don't think you've got a bad framework here. I think possibly you could do something interesting with an alien testing humanity, actually using them as a lab experiment. I think you would have to maybe take them off the ship and test different people, test their psyches in different way. Poor script. Once again, and I'm tired of saying it.
I think ultimately it's a story that was done better in Red Dwarf, actually. In Out of Time, where they pass through all these reality pockets and they keep experiencing things that make them question what they know and make them act differently. They discover List as a robot, and how do they react to that? That's the sort of thing that could have been done here and wasn't. If you'd had a variety of different things like that, and you know what, that would have helped the bottle nature of the show.
Actually, that bit at the end with fake Data and fake Troy questioning Picard, more of that maybe. Have them actually acting out of character. Have actual reasons to question stuff, but I don't know. It's a lot of let's walk around our regular sets because we have them. They weren't even in there that long. It just seems I'm blowing up the ship. I'm throwing my toys out of the pram because I'm being made to do something. I don't understand the motivations for anything at all, ever. I'm not even sure why we're doing this podcast anymore.
And on that note, quickfire.
Quickfire.
Worf recommends they go to Yellow Alert after 2 probes are sucked into a strange space anomaly. And everyone goes, why? Well, what, do you just want to shout down Worf? I understand going to Yellow Alert in that sort of situation. Weird stuff's happening in space. Shouldn't the crew be on their toes? And then Worf tells some myth about stuff going missing in space that I don't care about. But yeah, Yellow Alert! That seems like a perfectly reasonable course of action to me.
But it does mean changing the bulb. You always know when there's a new guy on the bridge who has a line of dialogue that he is going to die, don't you? I mean, even in the Star Trek films, even in First Contact, there's a new lieutenant on the bridge and he turns into a Borg.
Spoilers? The Void. Riker says it's like looking into infinity, so infinity looks dark blue and cloudy. The voice of the big alien floaty head is provided by Earl Boen. You might be familiar with him from his parts as LeChuck in Monkey Island and as Dr. Silberman in the Terminator franchise, appearing in The Terminator, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. He's being recast, I'm sure, for Terminator Genesis, a film none of us want to see.
Director Winrich Colby said that for him the challenge was to make the show visually interesting. Good work.
The Yamato will return later this season in Contagion, although its registry number will be different, as will the bridge, which is identical to the Enterprise in this episode. It has some subtle changes, and we'll keep you up to date with them, because we love a bit of set dressing.
Ensign, put us back on course. Warp 3. Yes, sir. Warp 3. And Ensign, if you encounter any holes, steer clear. Yes, that's do as he says, not do as he does.
Is this really bad? Is this worse than the worst from season 1? I don't think it is, but I think we're kind of hoping for more. It's mediocrity bores me.
I think it's not offensively bad. It's just uninteresting. It's uninteresting, and I would say I have an issue with the character of Picard in the second half. I don't think it sits quite right with me. But it's not racist, it's not sexist, and it doesn't feature rape. So, swings and roundabouts.
We'll be back again next time, and we'll be talking about Elementary Dear Data. But for now, goodbye.
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 What? Wait. Whoa. What happens when they get to, like, warp 9.8?
Well, they cut up a puppy into pieces, and they put that many pieces in. You're just left with a leg, and then next time that you need 0.2, just chuck in a couple of extra legs. Put them in storage, freeze them.
Do you need fresh puppy, or does any puppy do?
You can have dried puppy, but it generally won't go quite as far as fresh living puppy.
So, is that petrol and cats are like diesel?
Petrol? Made from pets.